This podcast is sponsored by LingQ. If you're learning English and want to study the transcript of this episode or any other episode, there is a link to the lesson on LingQ, LingQ, in the description. LingQ is a language learning tool that allows you to turn anything in your target language into a lesson. Podcasts like this one, YouTube videos, Netflix shows, news articles, blog posts, whatever it is you're into. One click on the LingQ browser extension and you have a language lesson to work through, translating words and phrases you don't know. Hello everyone, I am here with Mark Kaufman for today's episode. Mark, how are you doing?
Oh, I'm great, thanks. Can't complain. Sun's shining.
Yeah, for once here in Vancouver, for those of you who don't know, that's where we're based.
Yeah.
It's a rainforest we live in, so it's pretty wet all the time, but so yeah, it's nice to see the sun for sure. I thought it might be interesting to talk about the pandemic. It's a little different angle though, because it's been a year now since we've been in this situation, so thought it'd be interesting to catch up and see, first off, how you're doing, what's changed in your life. So yeah, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. I think as I look at myself in the video here, I realize that I probably don't get my hair cut quite as much or as often as I should be doing. Yeah, it's amazing that it's been a year. I don't know. That surprises me in a way. It doesn't really feel like it's been a year, but I guess it has, because it was, I guess, over a year ago that we stopped going into the office, and I mean, I guess now we kind of hope that the end is in sight. There's some light at the end of the tunnel. Hopefully the vaccines arrive before too long for us. I think elsewhere in the world, obviously, they seem to be having a significant impact.
Yeah. Has Steve been vaccinated yet? Actually, I haven't asked Steve.
No. I think it's pretty slow going here in
Yes,
in
it
Canada.
is.
They basically, I think 85 plus maybe are allowed to make appointments now for sort of vaccination, maybe a week from now. I think that's sort of where they are.
Wow. Okay.
So realistically, Steve, I think he's hoping some, mid-April-ish.
Okay, so next month, hopefully. And then for people like us, who knows, I guess, kind of younger, non-immunocompromised.
Yeah.
Hopefully soon.
Well, they're saying because they're saying they're going to split the doses, like not require 2 doses, or at least allow 4 months time between doses, that I think June or July, by the end of July, everybody should have 1 dose, I think is what they're saying. We'll see.
Okay. Okay. And so you're going into the office sometimes? Right?
Every once in a while, but really very infrequently, once every couple of weeks for a few hours, I think. For the morning.
I miss it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah, I do miss. I mean, for us, a lot of our team are remote anyway. So for a lot of them, this is how they interact anyway, just through Zoom calls, Skype calls. But for those of us who are based in the office, I know everyone's missing, the impromptu chats and meetings and just having someone to talk to.
Yeah.
In the workday,
and
it's
and somewhere to go,
somewhere to go.
Like if you ask me the biggest difference, like the actual work we do, I think because we always had so many remote people, and obviously we're all remote now. We have systems and means of communication that we use, and most of our time is spent on using those systems, and it's not that different, the actual work. But obviously in the office we see each other, we interact socially, we have somewhere to go. Right now you kind of wake up, you start working, and before you know it, it's 3 p.m. You haven't left the house, you haven't been outside, you haven't. At which point you're like, I gotta get outside. I gotta go find something to do.
I find that too. Yeah. Like, I haven't seen the sun, especially because here we often just don't see the sun anyway, even if you are outside for weeks on end. I need some vitamin D, sorry.
Exactly.
Just looking very pasty, but but spring is coming at least, so that's good.
That's the biggest thing. I think it's probably learning that you have to figure out a different way of planning your day. Like go out. First of all, when it gets dark at 4, you don't want to wait till 4 or 5 before going to do something. Go earlier when it's daylight. Otherwise you kind of miss it. But now it's between, today we changed our clocks backward or forward, whichever way it is, so that it's spring forward. Okay. So now it's obviously lighter later.
That's nice.
But I guess that's the biggest thing. I think obviously we'll see what happens with the office. I think they're predicting a lot of people will either not go back or will go back on a more erratic, or not erratic, but a less consistent basis, maybe part-time, or they're thinking, half the people would come one day, half the people another. Those companies that have large space requirements, I think, and therefore they can reduce their requirement if people aren't in full-time all the time. So it will be interesting to see how much of this. I was looking at our article today talking about how this has really spurred education to go more online and advance a bit with the times. So I think education has very much been a laggard in terms of adapting to technology, at least formalized education, and suggesting that that some of these things will now become more available, like ability to learn online, and some classes online. They talked about how potential to, if some students are interested in learning, their example was Portuguese, they could have one Portuguese teacher for the district, and therefore they can offer it maybe just that online versus previously where the only classes they offered were those within their building. So anyway, it's interesting. It will be interesting to see in all areas how much I guess change there ends up being, and how much sort of people will just go back to the way it was before.
I wonder. I feel like in a lot of cases it's just going to be, there'll be a time where things are a little different, and then we'll just kind of drift into the way things were. I don't know. We'll see. But some things have to stay different, I think. But it'll be interesting to see. I kind
of feel like a lot of stuff will go back to the way it was before. Like it just isn't long enough to significantly change those patterns. But there will be some change. There's no question. Like some of the things I think in health, like the telehealth, like why was that not available before?
Yeah, for sure. That's been great. A lot of appointments can just be over the phone. There's no need to go anywhere, right? So it just makes everything a lot easier. I feel like socially we will stay different in terms of there's like a shared anxiety that we have now about touching anything, touching each other, touching our faces, so I think that's a positive. I think maybe people will just be less gross and wash their hands more, and if they're sick, stay home, because no one else, everyone else wants to stay healthy.